This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome back. Right, so as per usual, the last couple of weeks our agenda is empty. So I'm just gonna start polling for pending items that we have in flight right now. Um, I can start actually. So we have a couple of PRs on the OCP Dia core repo. I was kind of late with the reviews, but they are done right now. It's kind of late. I'm saying it's late because I usually reserve Wednesday to work on this, but my Wednesday is before US Wednesday, so you're not gonna see this until the start of the day today. So anyway, the point is those are done. I left some comments. There's some DCO stuff. There's some LFS comments. There's some other comments. I hope you enjoy all of them. Um, Apart from that, what else do we have in flight? Any update on the DCO side? I saw some emails from Bishan and they kind of pushing for another 2 weeks. But anything new you have done maybe?
No, just buy-in from our open source office folks that DCO is cool with them. Now we're just kind of waiting for the OCP to say likewise. I think the OCP may be mixing the concept of sort of the developer certificate of origin and the license, though, but we'll see what they come back with in 2 weeks.
Yes, I did see that. Maybe we should be more clear around the fact that the whole legal picture is actually DCO plus MIT rather than just the DCO. But you are saying that you changed some aspects of the DCO text, or am I misremembering?
No, it's 1.1. I was just specific about it. We had said DCO before, and now we're saying specific DCO 1.1.
Okay, so the Google legal is okay with this then. So we need to convince OCP. On our side on Meta, I am still pending on legal. I haven't had a chance to go forward with this, but I hope to do by next week. Right. So I guess that's the main blocker right now. Anything else before we get to like technical updates?
Just I've got a hard stop today at 8:30 again, unfortunately.
Can we clarify just a couple logistics thing? I still on the calendar have two meetings for this, and the one meeting I call into still has the Michael Schill pointer to it. Um, who's helping just clarify this weekly? I don't think that. I mean, I don't know if anybody's basically trying to call into this and wouldn't basically think that we've stopped meeting. Um, so just wanted to put it out
I,
here. Is anybody on point to update the meeting?
I think
Yeah,
Paul,
Paul.
this is an action item.
yeah, I
Paul.
was I'm supposed to get it done, but then as I spoke to the IT team, they said they were going to transfer the thing, and we needed to wait a couple of weeks, and they didn't give us an update. It was a couple of weeks ago though, so yeah, you're right, Vincent. I should follow up. Thanks for the reminder.
Okay,
So
and should we clarify like the does everybody else have two meetings? I've got the one from 8 to 9, which is, and then I've got one
Yeah,
from 8:30 to 9, which is called certification meeting.
yeah, I see a 1 hour one and the certification. So OCP sync call and certification meeting. I don't know if that's just on our calendars though. What do you
it's
see,
only on
Paul?
our calendars. That
Oh,
happened as the last time because we wanted to split the meetings up, and then we ended up not doing it. And then we never canceled the second meeting, but that was only kind of internal within like this group of people.
hmm.
Vincent, just so I'm clear, one thing I find is if I click on the link and I try to go to the browser, I can't connect. I actually have to use the GoToMeeting app to connect to it. Are you seeing that as well, or are you seeing something different?
Oh, I don't even try to call into this meeting because we had updated the link, and I captured the link in our meeting notes, and that's what I use. But from what I remember, the link from the email did not work.
So the link from the email doesn't work, but the code in the email does work. And if you have the GoToMeeting app installed, you can put in that code. So
So
Okay,
the
that's what
link
I.
good.
is
The only
so the
people that
link.
have the link is actually people who have already been on the mailing list for a while. So if you go to the website, I believe it's just the Michael Shield thing. But let me follow up with them again because they said they were going to transfer the ownership over for the meeting invite to us, but they never did. And I assume they had some IT problems on their side because they have been kind of buggy on their side. So
By the way, Paul, we have some OCP flavored emails now. So if that's necessary, we have some.
yeah. So anyway, I think it was more invite than anything else because I did ping Mike about it and told him the link was broken and he said that he was gonna fix it, but he didn't see a problem with it at this point. He could access it. I said it was broken, and he said he was just gonna transfer the access over to us anyway. So just wait for that. I'll follow up with them today to make sure that this gets hammered out.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we
Paul.
can fix that after the handover. Sorry, Vincent, I interrupted you. Was there anything else?
No. I was thanking Paul for taking care of that. I think that's the only logistic piece on my end.
Okay. So I have a PR from you, Vincent, as well. Um, I know we have an item from last week which says add samples for C++ Python, and I saw a Docker file in the PR. Are these the same thing, or are they supposed to be the same thing? Could you give us some
Yeah,
detail
let
about that
me
Docker file?
give the 30-second view on this. So first of all, thanks for the speedy review. So I published this as a draft. They are kind of linked. When I was looking to add samples to the quick start guide, I figured I'd build a sort of hello world / smoke test in C++ and Python, and I figured the best way to do that would be in a reproducible environment. So cut a quick Docker environment. Ran into a build issue with the Bazel build, and I figured, okay, I'll put this out there. I was going to copy the Docker build file content in the Google Doc meeting, and I figured that's not a really nice way to share code. And so I created this draft pull request, not really intending to commit that and to pull it in, but more for sharing. So the bottom line is when I looked at the C++ examples that we had and the Python ones, I realized that idea of having kind of a hello world is maybe not going to fit in a slide. So that's why if you looked at the draft, I added silly links to basically the files that Dylan and you, Adrian, created respectively for the C++ and Python. So I don't know. I want to kind of maybe revisit that idea. And I don't think it's going to fit in the slide itself to have a usable example. We might be better off just socializing the sort of how to get started in a different way. So hopefully that gives a
So
little bit of context here.
yeah, so I have a question actually. On the Python side, did you look at the samples file that I told you about, and you made the finding that none of those are fit for like a hello world in Python with OCP diag?
So are you referring to the demo.py and
I think
or
so.
the validator, the spec validator?
No. The one that is actually using the Python library to
Yeah,
output
that's the
OCP,
demo.py.
not the validator. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one that I linked into the quick start guide. It's the demo.py, but obviously you've got a piece of code for every function of the spec, which is useful. And that's why I felt I don't want to take any single one of these functions and promote them to be the example. I figured we can just link in the entire file.
No, but that was the point I was trying to make last time. Like, if you pick the simplest function of all of those are like individual use
Yep.
cases that demo some aspects, right? It doesn't have to, this hello world doesn't have to cover all of the spec, all of the functions or the API or whatever. It's a hello world, right? So probably it needs to have a DUT in it, and you add a measure one series for a fan speed or something, right? That's a hello world thing. So what I'm asking is uh, why did you find that this is inadequate for the slide?
I didn't want to promote one single function as a representation of the entire spec, but it is a good idea. I mean, we could just basically have the boilerplate code with the kind of the banner and just add diagnosis or add measurement and um, I just felt there was so much more. I would want to link in the entire demo file and its equivalent in C++, um,
Hmm.
because
Okay.
ultimately that's what people are going to look for. But it's true that I can revisit that. I did want to get some of the inputs here. It obviously having a link in the slide deck is not great because it assumes you're online. You can just review this in a offline. But um, I don't know.
Okay.
Any thoughts
That's
on this? I
uh,
mean, I got your thoughts, Adrian. I mean, you still see value in the boilerplate code, and yeah, maybe we could do that and add the link at the bottom to say like for details, just look at this. On the C++ side, the boilerplate code was a little bit more verbose, so I don't know if that's going to actually fit well in the slide, and I don't know if anyone has thoughts on the value this brings.
I would say that's exactly how I see this. Some hello world code, which is supposed to show you what's the simplest kind of diag you can write with this. And a link to something else more complex. You don't need to visit the link right on the spot, but you already have some code on the slide to look at.
Yeah.
That being said, the goal here is to show that it is easy to use, right? So you have to have this minimal setup to use the APIs, whatever, to produce OCP output. So if we can show that with a small amount of code on a slide, I think that would satisfy. But anyway, I'll share up. Other opinions? I will start naming names. Okay, Dan, what do you think about the slides with code on them?
I am ambivalent.
Right. Dylan, what do you think about the slides with code on them?
It seems fine to me. Maybe we'd want to have like a slide showing output, like taking a full JSON output and then putting it in something that makes it a little more readable. But uh, yeah, seems fine to me.
Hmm. Okay, cool. So we have a couple of opinions, Vincent. Is that enough for your question?
Yeah, I'll take it up to the quick start and in the I'm still waiting. This quick start, I'm kind of putting it a little bit on under a test of giving it a run through a team I want to introduce this to. So I think once I get their feedback as well, it will be helpful to see what I get because in doing that, I also revisited the READMEs in the GitHub under the spec itself, as well as the landing page README, and they are great resources. I mean, ideally, the intent of this slide deck was to try to summarize that into a portable offline thing. So. Um, yeah. So the bottom line is I'll know more. I'll try to add some boilerplate code to intro how to get started. But no, let's not hold the sort of this quick start deck until I've gotten a chance to socialize it a little bit.
Okay.
Distribute it.
Let's continue this discussion on Slack, and please ask for whatever help you need for this, right? And for
So what
the
Yeah, Adrian, I did have, I mean, in putting together this Docker file, I did have a question for Dylan or anybody who knows. So right now on the runtime for building Bazel, is there a specific operating environment we're looking for? I mean, is Bazel 4 required? Is a particular operating system um, sort of I'm guessing as long as it can run Bazel, it will work. But I did run into an issue that I haven't really investigated in building doing the run OCP diag. I think let me see, what was it? So I had that question up. Maybe I'll start with you, Dylan. When you build it, what OS do you run and what version of Bazel do you use?
Usually just use vanilla Ubuntu and then Bazel 4.2.1 or anything in the 4.0 track works. 5.0 track does not work. I don't know why. As soon as there's sufficient motivation to move to 5.0, we'll figure it out and we can do that. But yeah,
Okay.
4.2 is what we use. And then just
ha-
like
have you
vanilla
looked
Bazel.
have you looked at the workflows file, Vincent, that's being run by GitHub? Because Bazel works there. I when I wrote that thing, it was fully compiling and everything, and Dylan just confirmed recently and fixed some stuff, so it works again.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by that because it's such a simple setup, but it's literally just Ubuntu and then you install Bazel with like Basilisk and then it runs.
Hmm.
We do use GCC and not Clang. Like I
Yeah,
usually
but
Yeah, I use GCC.
compilers.
anything should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll explore that a little bit more. The failure ends up being let me see, let's say.
Vincent, can I shuffle things around a bit because Dan needs to go in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
if
Go for
Dylan
it.
is
Go.
around
This can be
later,
taken.
we we can no, we can continue in the second half if Dylan is still around. So if we don't have anything else on the agenda, we can do the status technical status thing. I personally don't have anything new on the Python code right now. I'm still waiting on the legal. How about you, Dylan? Updates on the C++?
Nothing super significant. I've managed to successfully get everything importing into the sat repo and instantiated a test run object and starting to figure out how to swap things out. Trying to think. Yeah, I haven't run into any bugs in my library yet. So we'll dig them up, but
Cool. Well, thanks for that, Dylan. So we are ongoing with the set diag right now. Okay.
Maybe
yeah, I'll say
quick thing for Dylan.
just
Did
like
you happen to see the email yesterday about Capybara was looking for additional permissions? I assume that
oh,
that was you and we should approve that, but I didn't know if you saw that or not.
yeah. Let me respond to that. Honestly, I have no idea what that is, but probably we should just approve it and it's fine.
Sounds good.
Also, we're not even using Capybara right now, but
Even better.
I'll follow up with that. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, just that like SAT's a monster, man. It's big and it does a lot of things. And to completely convert all the output, I'm probably gonna have to go through every single line of it.
Okay. Well, if it
So
makes you feel better, now it's funded. So actually, that'll probably make Sidarshan feel better than you, but I'll let him know.
oh yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool. Maybe the last thing on my side, real quick, was Adrian. I saw your code review. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. It all seemed like good changes to me. I did do the LFS thing, but apparently it didn't work, and I think it's probably because I used GitHub Desktop. So I'm just going to do it via the command line where I know how to do it.
Okay. If you need additional assistance, just ping me on Slack or something.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. Um, I suppose if there's nothing else, we can continue the technical discussion with the Docker and Bazel.
Actually, on
Yeah.
this, just before we move on to that, the GitHub LFS, I think it's worth. I saw your comments as well. So the best way to deal with this is to define that in the attributes, right? So that you
Oh, okay.
automatically,
Okay, let me give you a short intro on that
yeah,
because we had multiple questions. So the LFS thing is kind of a separate repo from what are essentially the Git blob objects themselves that keep the history and all of that. So in order to make Git be aware of this other repo that maintains binaries and all of that, it needs this Git attributes file, which specifies filters that Git will use to look for specific file patterns to ignore from the main Git blobs and put into the LFS separately, right? So you add to that Git attributes file. You can do it manually, obviously, but normally you would say git lfs track whatever file extension. So when you run that command, that actually puts a line in that text file that you need to commit in your commit as well. After you have that in Git attributes, whenever you do a git add, through whatever means, whether it's like the raw command or GitHub for Windows or whatnot, the Git binary is gonna respect those attributes and track your new file as a binary that goes to LFS. So you don't need to do anything else after it's being tracked. This tracking thing is a one-time thing in the beginning. So actually, we might actually have a small PR or something where we can track like PDF, docs, whatever things that we want to have as binaries. That happens one time, and then nobody needs to do any Git LFS stuff. It's just normal Git usage, and it will be automatically done in LFS. Yes, Dan.
I'll sign up to do it. I need to do it anyway, so I'll just do PDFs and a few other things we may add.
In
yes,
that PR that you have with the PDFs already, you can do PDFs and some other extensions. Yeah.
I'm just going to do PDFs and PNGs for now so we can put our cool little logo up there.
yeah. So that's
Mhm.
kind of the. Thanks for the explanation, Adrian. I think it benefits us all on the Git LFS. I think what I was getting at was agreeing on which extensions and MIME types or we would want to basically
Oh,
LFS.
this isn't really a question. It's everything that is not text. That's the criteria.
But
Anything that
you need to define that in the Git attributes.
Yeah, but we can
yes,
add them.
you Dan will add most of them or whatever is available right now, and if it's the case, we'll add stuff later on. But I don't suppose we have a big subset anyway, so it's like some PDFs, images, and whatnot.
Well,
But
.bin,
anything
any
else,
image, like if somebody uploads an image of some kind, that's sort of an artifact or a binary
what
file that may not be defined,
what do you mean by image here?
a VM or a binary item.
Yes. As I said, anything that is not text. So source files are text files are text, markdown files are text. Anything else goes into LFS.
Yeah, so if Dan is signing up to do the update the attributes for all those extensions, then I'll assign that to him.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, if we're done with this topic, we can get back to the Docker thing if you had questions around that.
I think it was more around addressing your questions. You brought up some very good comments um, on it. I mean, as I said, my intent with the with putting the build file was not to pull it right into the repo, but to use it as a way for us to reproduce what we see. If I run into an issue that way, if I need Dylan to take a look, he can more easily rebuild this Docker file and reproduce the issue
Hmm.
um, than let's say us sharing an instance in a cloud environment or something like that. So that was the intent. Whether we want to grow this into a dev tool or make it part of our CI somehow, I think that's something to discuss. There can be value, and there can also be value in having a container that we offer the community to validate their test output. That in itself can be quite valuable. But I hadn't really cut this in that immediate intent, so it
Yeah,
may be worthwhile discussing that a little bit.
So
I have comments on that, but go ahead, Dylan.
I was just gonna say, so we actually have a Docker container that I made that we use internally for all our CI and stuff, like for the open source things. Um, and it's what I actually use for development whenever I'm doing the GitHub stuff. That I've already kind of gone through all the painstaking things of like figuring out all the little details to make it work. There's actually nothing about it that needs to be internal. Just like the process for making a Docker container public is laborious. But honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with me just copy pasting the Docker file out. Like there's nothing proprietary in it. So I could maybe just give you the Docker file. Like let me double check, but I could just give you
So
that
if
Docker file and
you
use that. I think.
if you have a build environment already with only upstream or open source dependencies and it's nothing internal, then we can actually put the Docker file on GitHub, and we can use it as a source for a container um, on the hub as well.
That's actually a good point. I could just export it in our normal. I could just reconfigure our Capybara export to just export the Docker file. I think sharing the container itself, I have to go through all the security things. Like I'm hosting it on like a private GCP project
No, but
and blah blah
that
blah. But
that's what I'm saying. If we have the Docker file, we can use that as a source for the hub image to download.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, and it's nothing like it is pretty much just vanilla Ubuntu with like things installed in the right spots. Um, like it's nothing super fancy, but yeah, okay. I can set up the export just that appears in the GitHub, and then send you a link with where that file ends up, Vincent. If that would be
Yeah, I
okay.
think that'd be great. I'd be curious to take a look at that. And does it rebuild? Does it do the Git pull of the repo, or does it take that as input?
No, so it'll let me think. What does it do? No, it's expecting it takes that as input. So I also have a script that just like which I should commit. So you know what? I'll add in that script too. It's a script that basically just like wherever in the current directory, it just like spins up the Docker container, copies everything into the Docker container, runs Bazel, and then like shuts down the container and copies the outputs out. And like that's what I use for development. So like I could also just share that. I think I've made it generic enough that it's pretty flexible for most
But
things.
even if it's working like that right now, it should be trivial to replace that bit of code with something pulling from a GitHub zip archive and unpacking it, or if you want to work with a local checkout,
You could,
then
yeah. I mean, it's just like if you're developing, I figure like you just have your Git repo pulled and you need a way to build it. I don't know if
mhm.
like I don't know. Yeah, if you wanted to have it like
We
pulled,
can,
you could
yeah,
do
we
that.
can parameterize it. We can parameterize it to do that. But I want to make an explicit difference between the usages. Like this will be a dev tool that you can use to, set up the whole environment for you quickly and do whatever you want to do on the code or diag. Uh, but we can also have a different container with what Vincent actually has in the PR, which showcases like a demo kind of thing, and then gives you a shell inside it so you can play with the demo.
Sure. I mean, you could change your Docker file to just pull, like, use my Docker file as a base, and then like add additional things that are going to. So like you get the whole environment, and then you can add additional things that are setting up
Yeah, yeah,
pending.
yeah. And that could be the way to develop diags as well. Like you pull the whole thing and you work inside the container.
Yeah. Yeah. I've opted for like a slightly different strategy of not working inside the container, so you worry about having to have it spun up or not, and just like basically making it part of the build command or the run command, but however people want to do it.
Oh, so you build inside the container and you take the binary out?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, honestly, like
that works.
what? Or like I'm just mounting it in there, so any files that you create get copied out, and then I have some stuff that like fixes the symlinks and stuff, just like some bash.
Hmm. What about debugging? Like if I were to use VS Code, does it interact well?
I have not tried. I would say probably not. I'm sure there's a way to do it though. Or maybe you just
I
want to spin
mean,
up the container. I don't know. Or you just always have the container up. I didn't want to deal with SSHing into the container and like thinking of it as a separate thing, but the container's there. You can use it however
yeah,
you like.
I'm asking in terms of extension, because if we make this like a public offering, then someone might go and ask like, I want to have GDB work with this whole thing, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
We can deal with that later. We
Yeah,
we
it's
can
also
deal with
like,
that later.
this is a very Bazel centric approach. Also, like, there's other considerations for, I don't know. I will gladly, as soon as somebody's like, oh man, I got this make file and I need a way to build it, then I'll be like, then we can figure out a way, or oh, when people ask.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Vincent, back to you.
Uh, since we were talking about runtime environments in your environment, Dylan, what version of GCC are you using? Is there a constraint there?
9. Let me check. Uh, I think we're using 9. I don't think that there's any real constraint there. I think the constraint was like some combination of like what version of Ubuntu you're using and uh, let's see. Here's the Docker file. Yeah, GCC 9 right now. I think it's like if you use GCC 11, then you need to be like on Ubuntu, a certain version of Ubuntu. I don't know. It's like whatever combination work. Not particularly married to it. You can use whatever, I think.
Okay, yeah, in CentOS 8 that the image I was using, it's running 8.5. I was just trying to understand what could explain. I pasted the error I ran into, but we can take that one up to Slack. Um, Again, I
This
did not investigate, right? I did not try to fix anything.
Gotcha.
Just
Yeah,
ran the Bazel build and ran into that.
Gotcha. Yeah, this
we
isn't the error. This is the start of the error.
Yeah,
Or,
it's the
or
start. Yeah, I need to
I
run
I
into this.
was I was gonna say the same thing. The only useful thing here is that exit one.
yeah, true.
Yeah, I
Oh.
need to run it with Sam, but I didn't know if this is something you've seen before, so I didn't.
I mean, it looks like saying standard equals C++ 0x, which isn't right. If you're running in the right location, then it should be picking up the like proper flags from the Bazel RC file. So that's a potential thing. Um,
What's the current standard now?
Everything
Requirement in
internal. We're 17. We're all 17. Uh,
17. Okay.
we could
Yeah, that's
maybe
what I saw in the. That's what you had in the. You had everything linked into 17. I forget in which file that was.
Yeah, the entire Google code base is 17. It's trying to switch to 17 plus some duct tape for a couple of features from the later versions. They're trying to switch it to 20, but who knows how long that'll take.
Okay.
Literally, There's an internal page that is just says we're trying to switch it to 20. We don't know how long it's going to take. um,
Work in progress. We should probably continue the discussion about the build error on Slack though, Vincent. Not
are
with
we? I thought that we
everyone on this
switched to
call.
GitHub. Are we still slacking? I've not been monitoring.
Uh, my idea was that we keep Slack on the free tier, just so we have something to do more live kind of conversation, but most of the stuff would be discussions in the tab on GitHub or PRs.
Okay, I would prefer to consolidate. Like, or this is too many things to check. I think, but I don't know. Could we maybe do it over
I
email?
think well, email is a third thing if you add it.
Yeah, but I'm already
Um,
checking it. It's not a third thing to check.
so I'm okay with just using emails and discussions tab on GitHub. Uh, the thing, my only concern personally is if you want some sort of quick interaction, uh, that debugging stuff live. Let's say how Vincent had this error, then email and GitHub is probably not going to
It will
work
stop.
that well.
Okay, that's fair. Um, okay. Maybe send
But
an
we can,
email to tell me to check.
yeah, send an email to be on Slack. Okay.
Somewhat convoluted. Hey, or Google Chat. It's a great. I mean, it's a serviceable. It is the chat client that we use. So there's. No. Yeah, that sounds good. So an initial email with the error, and then we can hop on Slack to continue debugging. I think would be
Okay.
good. Although I'll start by just giving you that Docker container and stuff, and maybe that'll just fix everything.
Okay. So we'll do emails first. I think Dan has the same idea. Next question, Vincent. Do you have anything else on your list?
Let's see. I don't think I have any more topics here. Not from me, Adrian. No.
Okay, cool. Thanks for all of that. So we will continue with the existing PRs. We'll talk about the build Bazel thing on email or Slack or email plus Slack. And we are waiting on OCP with legal. And that's basically a short form of the current status. Cool. Well, in that case, thanks everyone for attending, and we'll see you next week.